Let's start with origin story.
Okay.
For somebody that's never heard of you, doesn't know anything about you, kind of give me the birth until now.
Sure.
Short story.
Yeah. So I'm Henry Roland. Basically, I've been in bands my whole life. Was in a huge funk orchestra called the Gingerbread Men.
Nice.
We toured the country for about 7 years. This was kind of like late 90s or, yeah, just right around there. And did some pretty big things. Like we played shows with Tower Power and Maceo Parker we went on the road with for a while, and lots of funk legends, you know. It was an amazing experience. Out of that, I started studying jazz, and ran off to New York, probably about 98, 90, right. And started studying jazz there, did some new school studies, but predominantly it was like on the street, kind of just running around. And while I was there, I caught up with the Strokes,
Nice.
those cats, and I started a band called Star Child. That was a rock and roll trio that we kind of did some shows together, and it was that fuzzy rock thing. Yeah. And so between jazz and rock and funk and all that good stuff, I've just been basically doing it my whole life.
Right.
And that kind of led up to Henry and the Invisibles because, I tend to write a lot of music, right. And I got on the production side of things and the engineering stuff.
Yeah.
So, which goes really well with making beats and all that kind of thing. So, that's kind of how it was born, and then I just had to figure out how to do it live.
Right. So talk about that, like, and wait, before we go there, when you're playing in the funk orchestra, what were you playing? Keys, bass?
I was playing guitar.
Oh, guitar.
And I was doing lead vocals.
Nice.
And the only reason why I was doing lead vocals, because I never wanted to be a singer. Never wanted to be a singer at all, but we kicked out one of the guys that was the lead vocalist. he was kind of a pain in the ass, and so basically I kind of took over the role. And then I'd always written lyrics. I'd always been kind of just singing with an acoustic guitar around the house, so it was a perfect opportunity to step into that role.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you start making beats and kind of doing the production side and stuff by yourself, like, what was the process of taking that live? Because that's a giant process it's a big undertaking to take a full, basically recording studio to a gig and then play that. So, like, talk to me about that. How?
So when it first started, it was pretty rudimentary. It was like I had a pot, like a saucepan,
yeah,
and a water jug, and an acoustic guitar, and a bass guitar, and a loop pedal.
Right.
And I was basically making drum sounds with my mouth and the water jug and such, and I was kind of it was just a simple loop show.
Right.
But I quickly grew tired of that because I wanted more of more of some bass and more drum beat, and I love house music. Yeah. Of course, I grew up with funk music, right. So I needed some backbeat and stuff, and I realized pretty fast that I was going to have to get into some sort of drum machine, right. And some editing, pre-editing and that kind of thing. So that's kind of where it took off. I think the next piece of equipment I got was like an Axiom keyboard, right. With the drum pads on top, yep. And I started sampling beats and cutting them up and chopping them, and then just kind of doing that live and then playing on top of them. Right. And it was then that I think the project was really born,
right?
Because it kind of all came together at that point.
And like, how much, like, what's the percentage of pre-recorded to live?
So nowadays, I am very aware of that and very conscious of it. So I try to do a lot of it live.
Right.
But of course, there are songs that I've got that have maybe 3 different parts in them and some changes and stuff. Right. And I used to actually build every bit of that live.
Right. So that was like a 15-minute song.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I'll still do some of that during the set. Like I know I definitely, like, in an hour set, I'll probably throw at least 3 to 4 of those.
Right.
Just because building from scratch is so exciting.
And they get to see it.
Yeah.
That's what's so cool. And I've watched a lot of loopers, and the kind of the trap they fall into is they do a song and then, okay, now I know how you do this. I'm going to watch you do it again for an hour. Like, but with you, like songwriting first and foremost, because your songs are good, so then that way people are watching. But like beyond that, you've kind of found a way more than anybody else I've seen to make the show tight.
Well, like, thank you.
To go, oh yeah, I mean, and talk to me about the love stream too. When did that come? When did that start? So
Love Stream actually just started a couple of months ago.
Oh really?
And
wow.
Yeah, I just had this concept that I was going to show more of my back end, more of my studio where the songs are created.
Right.
And so I dressed up the studio a little bit and kind of made it some fun. But yeah, and I still want to do more of that in 2020. However, I've kind of repositioned my focus a little bit into a lot more production of music and releasing it.
Oh, nice.
And then have the Love Stream be more of a showcase of that.
Okay.
And show like maybe even how I built the song and that sort of thing. So
that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's got a podcast element to it too. And
right. So
the podcast was more about positive vibes, just a positive message out there because we need more of that, right? Amen. So.
Amen.
But yeah, I mean, the whole production thing for my set, I try to keep it moving.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to keep, the excitement of a dance party.
Right.
And what I realized was that people didn't mind if now that they've seen me build a beat or whatever, they know that this beat that I'm putting out there before I play anything is something that I produced.
Right.
And I also DJ, so there's that element of like DJing my own music live and adding to it. So,
man, and talk to me a little bit about the DJ. How long have you been DJing? Because that's
quite a long time.
Those, it's one of the skill builders that a lot of musicians don't go through.
Yeah.
Of learning to play a room like that. So like talk to me about like the DJ experience.
So in New York, well, I've always had a pretty decent record collection, and I've always loved collecting mixtapes and stuff like that. In New York, I did a lot of like soul and rock and roll DJing. There was a great party called Shout. If anybody was in New York at that time, it was just amazing. But yeah, so those cats were spitting 45s, and I wanted to do something similar to that. Started a party at a place called B3 on Avenue B and 3rd, and I was DJing there quite a bit. So I've been DJing for, I want to say almost about 15 years, 20 years.
Are you still doing it?
Yeah, hell yeah. In fact, I'm doing it a lot more now, and I'm tapping back into the house. Nice. That I love so much, and mix that with funk, and now there's this whole other new disco sound.
Right. Yeah.
That, I mean, it's not that new, but it has those funk elements. Yeah, it's coming back strong.
Yeah. That's weird too.
It's even, it's very inspiring to produce those kinds of songs.
Right.
For my own live set, and mix them in and do that kind of thing. But I love DJing for so many reasons.
Yeah.
But particularly my main reason for loving it is that, you're not just pressing play and spinning music. You're actually making music between 2 or 4 songs at the same time, and that I think is key to DJing.
Right, and to do that, you have to know keys. You have to know you have to know your stuff, and that's one of those skills that transfers over into being. Playing shows and all that is you take that knowledge and go.
Do you DJ?
I did a long time ago.
Yeah.
A tiny bit.
So yeah.
Yeah, but I mean enough to go. This is not for me.
Yeah.
But God, I learned so much. Just from because you play one song that doesn't work. And it's immediate.
Yeah, well, the floor will tell you for sure. Everybody clears the floor.
I love that. The feedback, because from playing shows. Especially, I imagine for you when you're building all these tracks, there's not enough of your attention going to how is this playing out or whatever. When you're DJing, it's immediate.
So interesting on that. I held a residency for 6 years at a place in San Antonio every Friday.
Wow. Every
Friday I would go to this venue, and it was kind of a tiny joint, and I would perform back there, and it was, I called it my laboratory. I was trying out new things. I was trying out, see what worked, what didn't. And quite often, I would write something on the spot and just kind of go with it. And if people were dancing, I'd kind of evolve it.
Right.
And most of those shows were recorded either on a phone or I also was recording just digitally, and then I'd go home and check it out. And
right.
If it really sounded good, then I'd come back the next week with a little something extra.
So I have an obsession with game tape, and I think we all should, of doing just that, of going back and listening and going, oh, that's what worked for
Oh, absolutely.
Like, and I imagine you get that from the love stream and from every, like, you really got a game tape kind of, like talk to me about that, like I guess building on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I imagine, I know for sure that's what the great athletes do, right?
Oh, yeah.
The basketball tapes or whatever, they're watching their mistakes and what they did right.
Right.
And it's the same thing. So, like, you could feel the performance through the tape and listening to it and say that did work or didn't work. Also, tempo is a big part of the vibes in a room. So, maybe that worked, but it needed to come up. So you make tweaks, and
right.
I've always said that, like, I'm constantly tweaking everything, and certainly haven't stopped. I definitely don't think there is an ending.
No.
You just keep going and you keep going, and then I don't know. I don't know where it leads until
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and forgive me for not knowing this. Are you releasing records?
I am.
On the way? Okay.
Yeah.
I've got you on Spotify, but I've never actually
hell yeah.
what the hell's going on.
So I've got 3 full releases and a bunch of singles, and 3 that are pressed. One Man Funk Band is actually on its 10-year reunion this October, which is my first EP, which I'm going to produce something pretty special for.
Nice.
And then I've got this full-length album, Mosaic, that came out just a couple of years ago, and another beat tape that's called Beats the Heat, and then a bunch of singles.
Beats the Heat. I love beats just for playing and then doing while they're playing.
You're going to love what I'm doing next, because I'm going to be dropping singles quite often, basically building up to something very special that I've got, like, this whole plan for. I'm super excited. As soon as 2020, I mean, I wasn't waiting, but I was sort of waiting for the year to start, because I wanted to roll into this new decade with a bunch of cuts. So
let's transition that into the year starting. To me, the Austin music scene doesn't really start until, like, Free Week is kind of our preseason.
Yeah, sure.
And then South by is, opening day. And we go from South by to ACL.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
And then we start over again. So, like, how often do you play in Austin right now? Or
well,
let's say last year.
Probably like once every, I think last year I might have played maybe like 3 shows. Yeah, like I just, I love it in Austin, but the thing is that I know that it's important to put out a big show, or it's important to put out a new song or something with it. But that said, like I did play a couple of benefits, like and
but those aren't
those kinds of things.
Right.
But as far as like me promoting a big show and that kind of thing, I mean, New Year's Eve is always a pretty big thing for us, and then we throw in, I've got a couple of pretty cool gigs coming up this year, but I really enjoy the festival scene around here.
Yeah.
So there's Sweet Party coming up. There's Utopia Fest. There was Art Outside. Bring it back. Euphoria. Bring it back.
Right.
But yeah, there's Sam Marvelous as well. San Marcos. San Martian Festival. San Antonio, Dallas. I love the Texas market, so I'm definitely always going to Dallas or Houston, San Marcos, San Antonio, Austin. Keep that train rolling.
Yeah. So, I guess how many shows did you play last year?
Gosh, I'd probably say at least maybe 1 a week, if not 2.
Okay.
I mean, there were times where we went on the road, and so we'd have like 4, gigs in a row.
Right.
So there were those kinds of weeks. We do a lot of weekend warrior road travel kind of thing, where we'll head out to North Carolina or go to Colorado or California or something like that and do some shows and then come back. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, I used to gig a lot more. I used to play like almost every day of the week when I was cutting my teeth.
What was the transition?
You know, it was building a repertoire. I was definitely getting enough music for my set list in order to play. Like, I built my set list to 4 hours, no breaks, and I would just play nonstop. Purely not for bar sales or anything, but just because I really enjoyed it, and also it just, you know, it just made me a better musician. I mean, my endurance and all that kind of thing. So, you know, once it started getting to the point where it's like, okay, well, I'm so used to this pattern of playing this many songs or whatever. I think it's time to cut back a little bit. I mean, I don't really need to kill myself out here, you know? Yeah.
Well, and you built the thing you tried to build. Like, I mean, one thing that fascinates me about you is, from looking from the outside, you look very much like a stand-up comedian. To where you built a set, and you cut your teeth and all that, and all right, now I've got that, and now we'll go out and take that in the world, because you got that feedback of what was working and what wasn't. So I love the process.
I have a lot of respect for comedians, by the way, because I hosted a open mic in New York. Dave Chappelle stopped by there one time. Also, Christopher Walken stopped by there one time. When Christopher Walken showed up to my open mic, he just recited "Raspberry Beret" by Prince. That was it, in Christopher Walken fashion, and so everybody was dying laughing. You know what I mean?
Is there tape of this?
No, but yeah. This was before the rad cell phones, right? Like, I think I had a flip phone, you know, but. Hey, I want to record this.
God that they came when they came.
Yeah, there are a lot of people would be in jail by now.
Exactly.
No, I'm just kidding. But it is that though. You know, you work it up and then you take it out. And now my focus is really producing songs in the studio and releasing them, because a lot of them have become quite polished. But also, like, I tend to know what makes a good song for me. You know.
Yeah.
And I still envision, you know, people dancing and stuff. So, you know, if it's not making you move in the studio, it probably won't make you move on the floor. So, yeah.
That's a great point, too. So, CDBaby, the conference? Is that a conference or a festival?
Oh, yeah, that DIY conference.
Yeah, the DIY conference. Talk to me a little about that, because I know, like, my point here is a lot of us musicians in Austin complain about stuff like that because of the price tag, because of the whatever, and then they don't follow through and see, like, people like you who, and I don't mean this in a bad way, you took advantage of the situation.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so talk to me about that, and like just being open to, man, just like putting yourself out there in a way that may not feel comfortable. Sure. But yeah, kind of speak on that.
I mean, first of all, if you're a musician that has been on the fence about going to that thing, you know, they sell the early bird tickets for less than $100. Yeah. And like, if you can't spend $100 on the amount of knowledge that you receive from this 3 or 4 days of a conference, I don't know what you're doing.
You're not taking it seriously enough.
I don't think so. That's just my humble opinion. Yeah. You know, but I mean, I could spend $100 in a bar in one night. So you know, although I don't very often, I definitely have. And the thing is like, so how that turned out was, I had bought my ticket. And they had announced that they were having this songwriting contest or something. And I didn't know what it was really. Right. And it was sponsored by Isotope, the super awesome company that does those great plugins that I love more than Waves these days.
Oh, God, yes.
Oh, man. So intuitive and just beautiful, too. Yeah. So the day that the conference started, I received an email that said, drop by this room. It was one of the smaller rooms in the Hilton Convention Center, and I walked in and they said, okay, it was kind of just like the meeting, and they were like, okay, so you need to come back here tomorrow, and we're gonna give you 20 minutes to record a song on this Spire Studio, this little recording device.
Did they know you at all?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
So they had no idea what they were doing.
And there were two categories. There was the band category and the solo musician category. Well, I'm a solo I'm a solo musician,
right.
you know? I mean, yeah. So I signed up, and the next day I showed up, and it was pretty cool because they had this room of instruments. They had a bass, a drum kit, they had a guitar,
right.
and I had brought my keyboard, but they had a keyboard, and they were like, okay, you have to use a few of these, and you have to use this studio, and you've got 20 minutes, go. And I'm like, oh, okay, so cool. So I went in there, and I'd already kind of predetermined what song I was going to do.
Right.
So I went in there and I recorded a raw version of the song that I'm about to release myself called Space and Time. Went in there, did the track. It was, and at this point, I wasn't really being too critical about it because I only had 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So I recorded the first track, then came down and threw some more bass, on top of it, and then did some harmonies, and then did some drums, and did some key synth stuff, and it was done in 20 minutes. And the guys were filming me, and the guys were like, wow, I mean, like we didn't expect that from, the solo guy, right? Yeah. So I said, is that fair? I mean, is that cool? And he said, yeah, no, totally cool. I mean, you're one guy. So story has it, I wasn't in the boardroom, but story has it that they put the song on, and the judges, there was a panel, they were like, oh no, not the band category, right. Put the solo guys on. The two camera guys were like, no, this guy, like, they showed him the video and stuff, and so that's how I won the grand prize. It was pretty cool. And it was so crazy is I wasn't that excited about it because, first of all, I only had like 6 hours of sleep that whole week. Like, I had done 2 shows, a love stream thing, and then showed up to this thing. I had a show that Saturday night. I believe it was in San Marcos. It was just a whole bunch of stuff going on. So I was like, oh, I don't know if how I'm gonna do with this or whatever. I wasn't excited because I didn't really think I was gonna win until they rolled in the gear.
Really?
When they rolled in the prizes, I realized, like, my heart started pumping. I was like, oh man, what I could do with all that stuff, like, that would be so cool. And when they called my name, I literally almost fell out of my chair. I sat in the very back because I figured when they didn't call my name, I was just gonna duck out, and I had to go to a gig that night. So I was like, all right, yeah. So I'm sitting in the back, and they call my name, Henry Invisible, because that's what I told my name. I told my name. So that was a really cool experience. Awesome. But what I would say is to all musicians is put yourself out there. You never know, like, you really don't. And I think that it's important to challenge yourself in that way. I mean, I was extremely challenged with it. But like I said, I just kind of eased up on myself and just let it go with the rough edges. And
that's awesome. That's, yes. So get me from CDBaby, because that was earlier, 2019, right?
Yeah, I can't even remember the month. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it was in August. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was hot.
Yeah, that's right, because they were all like bitching about it too, because they're from Portland, Oregon. They were like, man, it's hot. And I'm like, yeah, it's Texas.
Yeah, this is our oven. Right?
Yeah, welcome to the summer.
Yeah. So like, take me from that to what the craziness you have going on right now, where you're having conversations with Bootsy Collins. Like,
yeah, so
what?
So this is a funny story because I had entered into this competition. If you haven't realized by now, I love entering into like little competitions and stuff. I think it's really fun because it pushes you to do something that you probably wouldn't have done otherwise or something, and all of that just pushes your envelope musically and spiritually and creatively and everything. So Fender was hosting this competition. It was called the Ultra Riff competition, which, by the way, they have really botched the whole. Yeah, I'm not even going to get into that, but the whole judging process over there is just insanity. But they still haven't announced. They were supposed to announce December 20th winners, and they still haven't announced. Anyways, long story. But so I was in this competition, and I was in Mexico on vacation. My girlfriend and I, we try to go at least once a year out to some beach area, and so I'm, sitting at the bar, and I'm like looking to see if I had won, or if they had announced, because they were supposed to, and they had not. And I saw something posted by Bootsy Collins, who I follow on Instagram, and he said, audition for Bootsy, send in a 60-second video and hashtag it, audition for Bootsy, and then do a couple of little things like follow his sponsors or something. So I was like, well, I'm in Mexico. I don't have my gear, but I do have these videos that I just did. So let me go edit them, and I'll hashtag it for Bootsy. And I did. And that's what happened. And I didn't think anything of it, because he was supposed to announce the winners on Christmas. Right. And Christmas came and went. I didn't see any announcement, didn't get any emails. So I figured, all right, oh well. It was fun. Yeah, and Bootsy maybe saw me. Yeah, exactly. and nothing happened, and nothing. I wasn't trying to win this thing anyway. It didn't matter. So I was like, all right, cool. And then a couple of days went by. I think it was actually the 28th or 27th. I'm not sure. A few days after Christmas, and I woke up to this post that was like, here are the 5 winners I've chosen out of all these videos. Right. And my name is on there, and I'm like, what does that even entail? Like, I didn't even read really what the prizes were. Right. I just wanted to be like noticed by Bootsy in a way. Funk is my jam, so I was like, oh, this would be great. Literally the funkiest. I mean, he's Star Child, right? Yeah. He was one of the Star Children. So I was just like, okay, so wow. And then I realized he had liked a couple of my things, and then he followed me, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing, right? Oh, actually, I botched that. He liked a few of my videos and followed me, and I was mind blown. Right. And then he announced the winners. Oh, right. And so then I was like, wow. I mean, wow, this is incredible. What's been really cool, though, is the communication between I'm messaging him, and he's talking, we're having conversations, and I'm really excited because I don't know what to expect. Yeah. Did you find out any details about I did. Okay. So I won like a pretty nice package of prizes and some gift cards and such. But the big deal is playing at his happy hour audition at NAMM in California coming up in like just 2 weeks. Yeah. And so I was like, what? No way. What? This is crazy. So now I'm auditioning for Bootsy Collins. Say what? So I didn't have a ticket. But they actually gave us a couple of tickets. Wow. So now my pops and I, we toured the country. Yeah. We're jumping in the van and we're heading to Cali. Yeah, we're heading to Cali. Yeah. So, once again, you never know. Right. I mean, you can't win if you don't put it in. Right. And that's just the last 2 stories. I mean, CDBaby and Bootsy. And for the musicians out there, how many contests have you entered as freaking great as you are that you haven't won or heard a word back from or whatever? Can you give me a ballpark of, how many contests you've entered and not won? Me? Yeah. Man, I've been really fortunate. Yeah. I've entered, a long time ago, won for IKEA. This one called the Kitchen Jam, where you had to play kitchen utensils. I won. I'm sure you did. I won that. The couple of the Battle of the Bands that I've done, out of 4, I've won 3. Nice. I feel really blessed in the sense that I've been really lucky. Yeah. And well, let's go back on that, because that's not luck. Because you played every day for how long Yeah.
built a set.
There you go.
Because
There it happens.
without that 7 days a week thing,
Yeah.
you get 20 minutes at CDBaby and you get a scratch track, a bass, and maybe a harmony, and that's it. You're done. It's like, oh, here you go. But since you had the work put in, you were like,
but
yeah, 20 minutes, no worries.
But also, you know, not to say that I haven't or that I've won everything I've ever entered for sure, and not to say that, you know, I think a good loss every once in a while is very humbling, and it's also, that doesn't matter. Winning or losing actually doesn't really matter. I mean, it's great to win.
Oh, sure.
It doesn't feel so hot when you lose, but that's not what really matters. What really matters is you getting out there and you're networking and you're just really doing your art, you know, because I don't know of any musician that just got in it for the prizes or the accolades or the money. And if you did, then it's certainly not the proper career you probably should have chosen, because it's just, it's a tough adventure. And so I would say probably part of the reason why I've done well at some of these things is because that doesn't matter. You know,
Nice.
That's not the focus.
I like that. A lot. So you got NAMM in January. What's your 2020 look like? Like, what are you focused on? What are your goals that you can tell us?
Yeah. So this year I'm actually getting married.
Hey, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
And this year I'm taking my health very seriously. Getting a little better sleep than, 4 hours and here and there. And this year I'm going to be producing a lot of music, which a lot of it is already done, but, I want to bring it into 2020 and, tweak it somehow. I'm definitely focused more on practicing a lot more since I'm not gigging as much as I used to. So I want to keep that train going. And but my main focus, though, is more festivals. I'm actually actively looking for some management and some booking at this point, because it's gotten to a point where I feel like I've dropped a couple of balls here and there, and which I'm pretty good at. Like, I don't really mess a lot of things, but there have been a couple of things where I'm like, if I had somebody who was focused on that.
That's next level stuff. Is you can be a one-man band, but you can't be a one-man team.
Show. I mean, you can't.
You just can't. It's
just
not possible.
I mean, as it is, the live shows, my pops and I, he does a lot of the lighting. He sets up the merch. He drives us to the gigs. Yeah. He does a lot of the maintenance side of it. Myself, I do a lot of the songwriting. Right. I get all the tweaking. I do all the booking. I do all the videos. That's the other thing, too. We live in a different time. So it's like the content production of videos and everything else, it takes a lot of time. Oh, yeah. It's a full-time. I mean, there are times where, I'll be working on something and really there's the only break I have is sleep and dinner, Yeah, some food a little later in the evening just to keep you going. And, but that's the life we've chosen, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. No. I just think you just got to keep doing it and see what happens.
What has inspired you to take better care of yourself and specifically sleep? Because I talk about a lot of do more, faster, better, and never sleep and go.
Yeah.
I'm the same. Like, you have to stop.
Yeah.
At some point. So like.
Well, yeah. Well, I've been that way. I mean, like when I lived in New York, I had a day job. I'd come home and literally rush to a happy hour gig and then play like a late night gig and then a repeat, right? Rinse, repeat. And, I think after years of doing that style, and I think it's really good for you, especially when you're very young, like your 20s and kicking it, or teens even, like kick ass, like you just do it, go, and predominantly the reason why I made a switch is because I'm in it for the long haul. Like, I see myself like way down the road, and I don't want to be, aching every step of the way. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to cross the finish line, you definitely want to cross it feeling good. You don't want to be limping across the damn thing, dragging yourself across the thing. So, it is important. And sleep is a problem for me. Like, I get very active. I was born in the morning, 3:33 a.m. I like like, you know, sleep is a problem for me. I get really active at 3:33, to be honest.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, I can't sleep. But what I'm trying to do now, and this is one thing I want to, you know, if you're having problems sleeping, get up at like 7.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, start it with coffee. Go. And maybe the first 2 days, you're probably still like used to your old clock,
right,
and you can't really figure out what's going on. But by the 3rd or 4th day, you're ready to pass out at about 10 o'clock, and you can push it. And like last night, I was like kind of zoning out around midnight, which is early for me.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, it's something I said, you know, I definitely have to do. And, you know, as musicians, that's a problem because you don't get home till 5 a.m. So you don't really want to be passing out at midnight.
Right.
But it's just on the days that I'm not gigging now, I'm taking a little bit more serious.
That's I mean, and it's part
crazy.
safety too. Because like,
yeah.
And I used to preach this a lot when I was on the road more. Is like, if you don't sleep and then you have to drive for a long time.
Oh, yeah, forget it.
You know what I mean? Like, don't do that to yourself. Like, you have to take care of it. Like, the thing that we've chosen to do for a living takes a lot of maintenance.
Yeah, it does.
Or you're gonna die.
It really does. I mean, look at Mick Jagger, right? Look at. I mean, these cats are in the gym every day now because they want to keep doing it. Right. At some point. At some point, they made.
Exist.
Yeah.
You can't just exist. Like, I guess that's the whole point. You have to put work into being here and being able to hustle and being able to put on the show you want to put on.
Yeah, you know? Physically being able to do it. Because like as the one man thing, there's a lot of reaching and a lot of turning around, and there's a lot of that. It's very active.
Right.
And I used to always think, well, you know, I'm working out at the show, but it's certainly not really working out. Like I'm definitely breaking a huge sweat and everything else. Yeah. But I'm also having a beer too. So, you know what I mean? It's a little different. It's a little I
don't think you'd have a beer on the treadmill at the gym.
I think I'm going to try that today, though.
Might keep you going back.
They ought to sell like sports water bottles that look like certain bottles or something. Oh, people would have a kick, man. It would be awesome. But yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm making a bunch of drinking jokes, but I don't really drink that much. But the thing is that you got to take care of yourself. You really do, and especially in any art form. I'm sure dancing for sure, gymnastics, all that stuff, you know.
Well, and it's funny because like I barely drink as well. Mm-hmm. We have all the drink jokes.
Yeah,
because that's where we are every night. You know?
Well, we were raised in bars.
So
I mean, geez, you know, it's tough for musicians to not become alcoholics because it's always around when people are talking to you. They're like, hey, man, you know, can I get you a shot? Can I get you a drink? You know, drinks are free. And, you know, I don't know about your case, but like coming up, like there was a point where I was like, okay, this has to change or I'm going to drastically go down this particular path, which I've seen a lot of my friends do.
Like, that's not a fun path to go down.
Nah, and, you know, you're not going to win.
No, you're not.
You're not
going to beat it. No, I got to the point where I would go up to the bartender before the gig and be like, water.
Yeah.
Like vodka shots.
Yeah.
Just put water in it.
I think more bars should serve tea because I love tea.
Yeah.
You know, I love, you know, and not like the soup, although I love sweet tea, but, you know, not always that though, like a Jasmine or something. That would be really nice, you know, iced tea or something. Aside from just Topo Chico or the bar water that usually like tastes funny or a Coke or something, which is equally not as great, you know. I mean, I love a Coke, but like, you know, it's not what I want to drink during a set.
Oh yeah, I remember what I was going to ask you earlier. Collabs. Do you have any? Have you done many? Like, talk to me about. Have you? Are you planning? What's your kind of view on?
So as far as collaboration goes, I have produced a couple of tracks for some people that have not been released yet. I was working with Bushwick Bill before his passing. We were on the road. We were kind of on the path to do a lot of single releases. Rest in peace, Bushwick Bill. And but I've had musicians sit in on my records. I've had Barry Frosty Smith, rest in peace. I know, on Soul Shaker. Jeff Daisy, who plays with sax with Willie Nelson and stuff on music. And but as far as like future collabs, I've had a lot of offers on Instagram.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
People are emailing and stuff. Yeah. And I plan to take a few of these cats up because couple of them really spit some bars, you know, and a couple of them are great musicians as well.
Right.
So I'm all about it. It's just, it's a time thing for me.
Yeah.
You know?
But the gain possible from that, if you play it right, especially like in the way that you're doing it, I mean, if you work with somebody that's got 25,000 followers, whatever, you're almost guaranteed like 5 to 10.
Yeah.
Every time.
Sure.
You know? And then that many more people know.
Yeah.
How is your, like, you're going to play a show, let's say North Carolina, what are you doing to promote out there beforehand? Nice.
So, you know, there's a lot of marketing that goes into telling people about your shows. You know, there are different social medias that you can use, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever works best for you, I always think. And you basically set those demographics to a certain area and say hello to that area. You also want to be kind of building up to it. Right. Normally when I have a show in an area, I might talk to a local podcaster, or a radio interview might help for sure. You know, anything you can do to really get the word out before you get there is certainly in. And like, I think we live in this great world with social media. You know, we're doing live here, and it's just like, it's such a cool thing to, I guess, always keep pushing the boundaries on that stuff. Like, yeah, I don't know all the answers like Gary Vee does, but you know, I feel like, you know, but I love what he does, and he's got so much sharing of his knowledge that it's really wearing off on a lot of people. You know, people are really understanding it more, and I think that that's what you have to do. You got to get the word out. You know, we're not on record labels yet or anything, so.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What's Blue Sky, the best thing that ever happened to Henry and the Invisibles, or Henry Roland, either one? What's that look like? 5, 10, 15, whatever year, but like, what the most successful thing you could ever have in your life?
Well, you know, it's kind of like what's just now happening. I just got back from California. I played on the main stage at Wonderfront Festival, which was like this big thing. It was the inaugural thing. And from that catapulted me doing this really cool show, Jam in the Van, which that's going to go out to a bunch of people that follow them on all over their socials and stuff. But then immediately following all this was this Bootsy thing that, like, I'm going to audition for BootZilla Records. And so, like, if he hands me a contract, you know, obviously I'm going to read the fine print, but like, it's going to be hard to say no because of his reach, you know,
and it's who he is.
Yeah, and I'd love to collab with Bootsy and some of those funk legends, you know, Fred Wesley or.
But it'd be different if like Adam Levine was handing you a contract than Bootsy Collins, like the Maroon 5 guy. You know?
Yeah, no, I know who Adam is.
You know what I mean? And it's like with Bootsy, it's like.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'd be hard pressed to decline any offer coming from anybody that's way above. But yes, and you know, coming from the mothership itself,
literally,
Bootsy Collins, literally, right? I mean, he's the funk dude, so it's like, to me, it's like, man, that is my tree. Like, I'm so excited about it. I would say that's probably one of the bigger things that's recently happened. I mean, you know, just been pretty fortunate with some of this stuff and some great bookings. Yeah. You know, but
so are you? Figure out how to ask this.
This is a fun conversation, by the way.
Oh man, you're fucking awesome.
This is fun. Yeah.
Perfect tour. Who are you with?
All right.
Let's say the U.S. because let's keep it easy.
Well, I'm going to say right now opening for Bootsy because...
Well, yeah.
I heard he took a break, but I hear he's back, and I certainly, you know, if I get signed with him, it'd be great to go on the road with him. You know, I've done some road work and opened up for some greats this past year. Fishbone was super awesome. I opened up for Victor Wooten. Opened up for... well, like in the past, Henry, which by the way, I'm rebranding in 2020.
Really?
Did I tell you this?
No. What are you rebranding?
So, Henry and the Invisibles, I have been for a decade, and I'm changing my name to Henry Invisible. And the reason is because all of my social media has been Henry Invisible ever since I started, for the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
As it turns out, a lot of people actually call me that, and there was a lot of confusion going in with like some bigger bookings, and so I decided to go ahead and rebrand fully in 2020. And also, the marquee guy loves me now because he didn't have to put all those letters up. It's super long. So it's like, oh, Henry Invisible. Oh, that's
so much better.
Dope. That's
awesome.
Dope. Here's $10. But so like, yeah, no, but like Henry and the Invisibles had opened up for Lauryn Hill. We'd done some after parties for, of course, opened up for Ghostland. Played with Chromeo. Done some amazing gigs, and I think more and more I'd love to just hit it with cats on the same, like I think the Floozies would be a lot of fun to go on tour with, because those guys are dance and the festival scene, and I'd love to do something with them, or many of the producers that are out there today I love, but I'm into lo-fi. I love the new producers that are coming out, Bad Snacks and Stolen Drums, and all these producers, all these musicians.
Do you know Cloud Chord?
Yep, okay. Absolute.
I love him.
He's amazing, and he and I actually have been talking a little bit about doing a collab. Now that you mention it,
oh god, that would be amazing.
Yeah, well,
Call me and let me have a camera in the room.
Yeah,
because that would be awesome.
Yeah, he posted something about a week ago that was like, let's do some picking or something. And I was like, hell yeah, dude, that'd be awesome. Yeah, he's an amazing producer.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's killing it on Spotify and like.
And I love his demeanor, like his whole with Instagram. Like he's always got this cool smile. Like, he's dope, man. He's dope. Yeah, and I didn't even know he was in Austin until like just recently.
I've been listening for like at least a year before I was like, oh, let's find out about who this is. Oh my god, he's down the road. Hey, cool. Yeah,
and I did a show with Zach Deputy, who's an amazing looper.
Right.
I did some after parties for Keller Williams. And it would just be nice to do. It would be nice to do like a big one-man band circus kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where a bunch of cats were doing that kind of thing. Cloud Chord, myself, Zach. Maybe those are some goals for 2020 to put something on. For sure. So we said it today. It's gonna happen.
Be on the lookout for the Invisible Fest.
Yes, exactly. There you go.